Welcome back to First Watch. It's Will.
It's Mike. Hello.
The show that's part review, part reaction. We don't really know what it is. We just watch movies and then we talk about them. This is
what we do.
Showdown. Mm-hmm. This was released in, I think, 1993. This is the MVD Rewind Collection Blu-ray release. It's got this poster here. Got a bunch of special features on here. Slip cover. All the fun stuff that you expect from the Rewind Collection. So, this movie is basically Karate Kid.
It's exactly Karate Kid.
But it's more violent.
It's like Karate Kid meets The Principal.
Yeah, it's like, so there are those... all
or
those,
The Substitute.
And we should explain, you're watching this on Instagram, you're watching the 80s Nerdgasm channel. This is a 90s movie. But obviously the Karate Kid was an 80s movie. And this movie is also one of those, what do you call that subgenre of like the inner city school where all the gangs have taken over and like
just that
subgenre
genre,
of films, which began really, I think, in earnest in the 80s. You have Crack House, and there's that
The Principal.
There's a Denzel Washington movie.
There's so many of them.
Lean on Me, right?
I don't know. Could be. There's so many.
This is like one of those movies, and the Karate Kid is taking place like in that environment essentially. And like we watched the making of on the Blu-ray here, and the screenwriter essentially said like the producers pitched me a story that was basically Karate Kid, and I was like, isn't that Karate Kid? And they were like, whatever, just
and
write
then the
it.
director kept mentioning it's like, yeah, it's basically the Karate Kid. I found it funny when he said you know, if this had come out before the Karate Kid, we would have made a lot of money. I'm like, it's 8 years later. What do you mean? Like, it wasn't
like
this
they were in
came.
competition.
Yeah, it's
I
not
know,
like
right?
it came out the year after.
And
I just found that
did
funny.
we mention that Billy Blanks is in this movie?
Billy Blanks,
which is the Taibo guy.
Before he became the Taibo.
Before he was a Taibo guy, so
he
he's
was just
like
a martial artist.
He's basically Mr. Miyagi. Patrick Kilpatrick is in it.
I like him a lot.
Brian James is like, he has nothing to do with the plot, but he's amazing.
Yeah.
He plays like the vice principal of this school, and he just goes around like talking shit on these kids.
Yeah, he just busts people's chops, and that's it. He doesn't tie into the plot or anything. He just busts a bunch of chops, and
then
that's it.
Ken Scott is the main.
Ken Scott's the main guy.
And he's so I don't really know Ken Scott, but he's a really good martial artist. Like the martial arts in this movie are fucking legit. Like they, instead of going the Karate Kid route and finding good actors who they could teach martial arts to, they found, and actually this movie also kind of reminds me a little bit of a Van Damme movie.
Yeah,
and
he really wanted to be the next Van Damme.
Ken Scott talks about wanting to be the next Van Damme.
Just like nonstop.
But there are like serious Van Damme vibes in this movie. Like Kickboxer, Bloodsport, like reminded me of those types of movies.
Lionheart.
And the martial arts, the fight, like I'm a big martial arts movie fan, obviously. I say obviously because I do stuff for Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. I love like Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, like all that stuff. And the fight scenes in this are really, really good, and I really enjoyed them. And I mean, like the thing is, like, I think it's easy to say, oh, it's a bad movie, or I'm not going to pay attention to it because it's essentially a ripoff or remake of Karate Kid. But it's like, there are so many movies that are like template movies, right?
Yeah.
Like Passenger 57 is Die Hard on a plane, right? And like Air Force One is Die Hard on a plane with the president, and like Under Siege is Die Hard on a boat.
Die Hard
like,
on a, you hear that, it's
that's
like,
a genre. Like, and you watch those movies because they're fun, and like you want to see Wesley Snipes whooping the shit out of people on an airplane. Who cares if it's basically Die Hard? Like,
you always
want
to see Wesley Snipes whipping the shit out of
always.
anybody in anything, yeah.
So like it's basically like a template type of movie, but I found it really enjoyable, and like it's very 80s, it's very fun. It has this kind of like gee whiz, aw shucks kind of like feel to, because the kid is from he's from Kansas, right?
I think so.
And he moves out to California.
It was so like and watching it and commenting on it is one thing, but then when you see the behind the scenes, which funny enough is longer than the movie.
Longer than the movie.
But the people like, they're likable. They really wanted to make a movie. They really tried hard. They wanted to have a good time. They're not mean. They're not assholes.
Yeah.
So it's like, so you give those people some leeway, right? If you watch it behind the scenes and the guy is just like
some arrogant
mean and some arrogant, it's like you hate him. It's like you're gonna cut no corners. If that film sucks, you're just gonna lambast it. But like, these guys are nice, and it's like, you know, just
they were just doing what
bunch
they
of
could
people
do.
got together,
they
made
didn't
a
have
movie.
A huge budget.
They shot most of
yeah.
it in some like high school in Arizona during the summer when it was empty.
And they were actually, they said that they that a lot of the cast members stayed together in like a motel or a rented house or
was a
something.
cheap
and they were
motel
like
thing or
really good
something.
friends, and they
Yeah.
would go out each night like having fun. And like it just seems like they really, really enjoyed making this movie. They put a lot of blood and sweat into it. And it's not
So
like
give 'em a
if
break,
you've
yeah.
seen the thing is like I think that a lot of people who are movie critics who review movies, or a lot of people who are kind of like more like surface level mainstream movie fans, they only see like the movies that come out in 3,000 theaters and that then go to like big premieres on Netflix or have like huge DVD releases at Best Buy or whatever. Those are like the best of the best movies that get made.
Yeah.
And like those people might say like, oh, this is a bad movie. Like, this is not a bad movie.
No.
Like, it's coherent, it's fun, the acting isn't terrible, the martial arts are badass, the plot is fine, the script is fine. It's like,
There's no technical.
I mean, like, we've
issues,
seen
but-
movies that are so bad that, like, within a scene, like, what was that movie that we watched? The medieval sorcery Deathstalker?
Deathstalker, but that's meant to be bad.
No,
right?
I know, but
yeah,
like that movie,
yeah.
like was incompetent.
There's technical
Whereas
issues,
this
there's-
movie
yeah.
is like it's perfectly well made. It's just not,
They just didn't have any
Apocalypse
money.
Now. Yeah.
They, I'm guessing they had $1 million or less, and half of that probably went to the cast. So it's like, it doesn't have a $300 million budget and a $150 million marketing budget like a Marvel film does now. And of course, like, regardless of how those movies, the plot-wise and things like that they're going to look good. They're going to look polished because, like, you better make a polished movie with $300 million,
Well, even
right?
when
So
you
it's
like
not
with
that
Marvel,
impressive.
like, and we're not gonna, I don't want
Yeah,
to
we
get
don't
into
wanna
like the whole
jump
Marvel
into it,
thing, but Marvel, has its own dedicated, essentially what is like an in-house second unit
Mm-hmm.
to make those movies all look the same, and like that's all they do.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, of course that movie is gonna look way more polished than this, and of course this is a simple movie, but like, if you like The Karate Kid,
If you like people
You'll
whooping
like
the shit out of
this.
each other, if you like Van Damme,
Yeah.
if you like those criminal, what is that? What's it? Criminal Mind, Dangerous Minds,
Dangerous
the
Minds.
Michelle Pfeiffer movie, like those types of movies.
and this actually had some recognizable
fun.
people in it. Billy Blanks,
Brian-
Christine Taylor, who we didn't
Christine
mention.
Taylor's in it, yeah.
She's very cute, and this
She's,
was.
but she's awesome. She's in
Yeah, she's-
Arrested Development. She's in,
good. And
was she in
role-
Zoolander.
She's in Zoolander.
She's in a ton of movies.
Because she was married to Ben Stiller for a while, and so this is, I think, one of her earlier films. So she's good
She's
in
like
it.
23 or
Brian
something.
James is good. So like, it has some people in it. Patrick Kilpatrick's good in anything because like he steps on screen and he just looks like he's
He's
gonna
just
murder.
a beast. He's a beast.
And
in the interview, he
yeah.
was kind of a beast too.
And they always say, he's like, why he play a bad guy? It's like, that's just,
it's just
yeah,
what I do.
that's
I don't
what
know.
do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to run into him in a dark alley, but
So.
or he wouldn't
would
want to run
you?
into me in the dark alley. that's a recipe for disaster for somebody. But yeah, check it out. I mean,
Showdown,
have fun.
MVD Rewind Collection. It's a super fun movie. You'll enjoy it.